We spoke with Beth Wilkinson, an attorney for Judge Kavanaugh. Norah was with us in Studio 57 before she left for this morning's interview with Secretary of State Pompeo.
Beth Wilkinson, good morning. Beth, the news this morning is that USA Today is reporting that Dr. Ford has offered the Senate 4 people who corroborate her sexual assault claims, including a friend and her husband. Is the evidence mounting against your client?
No, I wouldn't say that, Norah. As you know, those are statements that were made relatively recently, and sadly, this is an allegation from almost 36 years ago, and there was, at the time, no report, which is understandable, but the first time these allegations came to light, as far as we know from reading the reports in the media, Dr. Blasey told her therapist and told her husband. They announced that there were notes and that there had been a lie detector test. But as I understand it, they did not turn any of those over to the Senate committee, even though they were requested. So the information that would have shown what she said at the very first time when she revealed these allegations have not been turned over to the Senate.
Wait, so you're saying that that lie detector test that they've referenced the results of that have not been shared with you or with the Senate committee?
As far as I know, last night when the information was sent in, we all received a request from the Senate to provide any information, and we did not receive from the documents that they sent in any information or the results of the lie detector test that had been mentioned in the Washington Post, and we didn't receive the notes from the therapist that had also been referenced in the Washington Post. And of course, that's very important because apparently in those notes, there's a differing story about how many people were present at the party. There's no mention of Judge Kavanaugh. And so all that information would be very important to determine, whether there's any corroboration of this allegation.
And yet eyewitnesses and friends of Brett Kavanaugh said that there was excessive drinking while he was both in high school and in college. In fact, his college roommate at Yale told the New York Times that although Brett was normally reserved, he was notably a heavy drinker, even by the standards of the time, adding he became aggressive and belligerent when he was very drunk. Does he deny any of that?
No, I think you heard Judge Kavanaugh say, like many kids that age in high school, and back then the drinking age was 18. Probably you're a little younger than when that was 18, but I was at that same age allowed to drink. And he admits that he drank and did some things that he looks back on and says are embarrassing and make you cringe. But that's not what this is about. This is about a very serious allegation.
We talked to Senator Klobuchar yesterday, who raised these issues, and the distance between the way Judge Kavanaugh describes himself and the way his colleagues and friends describe himself over this period of time. And she said those are things that really go to credibility, given some of the stories circulating out there. Her argument is that the distance between his claims about himself and these stories about him go to his credibility. Do you think that's not fair game?
I don't think that's fair game, only because he hasn't denied any of that. I mean, he's said that he drank. He said that he sometimes drank more beers than he should. No one is disputing that. But that isn't evidence about what happened with regard to the charges that are being made here.
But Beth, just a sec, to follow up on John and Bianna's point, he did voluntarily share that he was a virgin in the Fox interview. And now you have a friend who's tweeting that, listen, Brett told me something very differently. So I think for a lot of people, it does raise a credibility issue about him.
Well, I think that was one person. Many other people don't corroborate that. And so it's, this is one of the problems. People are selectively taking certain statements. Every single person who was named that was supposed to be at that party says either the party, they don't have any recollection of the party, they weren't there, or they never met Judge Kavanaugh. The same thing about the allegation at Yale. Nobody corroborates that event happened. She didn't even say when she was first talking about it that she remembered that it was Judge Kavanaugh. So I think this is part of the problem. It's so unfair to be pulling out one statement from one person or another when you're trying to determine the full picture of what actually went on here. And from day one, Judge Kavanaugh said he didn't do this. He never did this, and he's never done anything like it.
Beth, you said it's not fair game to go into these questions of the nature of his behavior. Does that mean he won't be answering questions about, for example, what's on his yearbook page and these various stories that have been told about his level of drinking in high school and in college?
No, of course not. He'll answer whatever questions the committee decides to ask him.
All right, Beth Wilkinson, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you all.